I wanted to address the recent Bumble blunder. This week or last week, Bumble came out with a new ad campaign that basically got a huge amount of flack they had to take down. And I'm going to just read the two billboards that went up. One said, "Thou shalt not give up on dating and become a nun." And the other said, "You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer." I'm curious because I don't understand what choosing to have sex or not have sex has to do with the dating apps. And then that leads me to the question of what is the role of the dating app in modern dating society? And as somebody who is intimately involved with them, I'm currently single and on both Bumble and Hinge. And I've found in the past, I've had moderate success meeting people. But lately, it seems that it's a lot harder to actually get to the date, that the people that I am connecting with seem less serious. And the question is the whole idea of dating apps dying? This morning I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how basically it's in the best interest of these dating apps to keep you single because you'll keep coming back and you'll keep renewing your membership. And I suppose that's a business model. I don't necessarily believe that that's the case. I think we're much more complex as humans. And I think the dating apps, yes, they're very superficial and it's impossible to figure out necessarily whether the person is legitimate and whether or not they are really who they say they are, and also whether you're going to connect with them because it's flat. You're just basically looking at a checklist and reading somebody's profile. It doesn't mean you're going to connect with them. Sometimes I find in the banter, in the texting, you can get a little bit of a sense of somebody, but that still is not necessarily what they're like in person. And so I wonder if there's not some opportunity here to create some other sorts of apps where more human interaction is involved, as opposed to actually what Bumble has said is now they're going to be using more AI to help you date. And again, it's moving, these companies are looking for ways to make money and they're moving more towards using technology, where I think what we are all sorely lacking is the human connection. And in fact, millennials and Gen Zs are actually moving away from the apps and trying to get more social connections, which I think we all want. Whereas as a baby boomer, we started our relationships back 20, 30, 40 years ago in person, and now we've moved to the technology. And I think the difficult part, particularly for those of us who are beginning dating later in life, is that those opportunities for social interaction are much smaller than they are for younger people. The example that was given in this podcast, and the host was in her mid-30s, and I believe the people she was interviewing were also in their 30s. So it's a very different demographic. And they're saying that why not just bring someone to a party and meet someone at a party? Well, there aren't a lot of parties for older single people that bring in people from all over the place. There are different communities. I know that having gotten a little more familiar with the kink community, and there are people that are choosing to have poly relationships. And so, or when you've got many partners, because that actually brings community. So there are different ways that we might be introducing more partners into our lives, but it's a lot harder. And I think the simplification of it, whether via a dating app or just saying that we should meet people in person, yes, wouldn't it be nice? But why wouldn't the app find a way to help us engage more face-to-face? And maybe it's instead of, your first interaction is actually a FaceTime as opposed to a text. Something to bring more personal interaction as opposed to taking AI and inserting it so that you've got even less interaction. What are your thoughts?